Good morning, everybody. It's good to be with you today. We are standing in front of some things that I think Chris will tell us in a little bit. Mm-hmm. First of all, welcome back, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
You were gone for a couple weeks. Can you give us a little bit of an update?
It was good to be away and hang out on the coast. We spent. It was one of those trips where we saw a lot of different family members, and that was good. Mm-hmm. And so. I'm trying to think. We went into the time away. This is the first time we did something different where I started hearing from my kids, want to do this, want to do this, want to do this. I said, okay, just stop. We had a spreadsheet where it was like, here's everything. And I showed it. This happened. We did this one day before we left, like when Sheena was at work. And I shared it with her. It was a Google Doc I shared with her. And she's like, what is this? How are we possibly doing all of that? I said, well, hold on. What I explained was this is a wish list. Like if time is just like, we have no limits on it. Here's all the things that we would one time do. And we'll do as many as we can. And then maybe next time we're on the island, we might do something different off that list. And we did a good number of them. Yeah, actually, we spent a lot, and it was really cool. We had a great. One of the highlights I'll share is we had a day where my father-in-law really wanted to show us his new boat, and in my back of my head is another conversation where a friend of my mother-in-law's asked him how many boats he had, and it was one of those like. I'm going to answer, but not answer. But this new boat is beautiful. He and another guy are restoring this old wooden boat. It's like this 40-foot long like cruiser, and we went from point A to point B, and it's like a 1-hour drive by car. Mm-hmm. It took 6 hours on the boat. Yeah. But I mean, we got slow. Yeah, we went fishing a bit. At what point it broke down, or it seemed that way. So we just started swimming. We're out in the middle of the water. We're like just jumping off the boat. It was great. We saw some humpbacks, some porpoises. Oh, wow. It was just a beautiful day. We didn't catch any fish, but we certainly saw lots of jumping fish and all kinds of stuff. So it was fun. And we, like I said, we got to spend a lot of time with a lot of different people, and so it was good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are reviewing Sunday as well. So Sunday we've been in our series Blessed to be a Blessing. And one of the questions that that we talked about on Sunday a little bit that I wanted to wrestle a little bit with you guys and encourage you to wrestle with in your own mind and maybe with the people around you is, what do you think is the difference between taking the blessing versus receiving it? We talked about how in person after person, instead of trusting God and receiving the blessing, they tried to reach out and grab it. So what is that difference? What does it look like, or how do you think about that? So go ahead. One of you guys can kind of jump in and.
I hate it when this happens, but a country song suddenly came to mind. It's the old Garth Brooks song, Unanswered Prayer. I'm sure Kevin knows it really well. Yes. Right? That idea that, sometimes we don't put enough, merit in the fact that sometimes we just wait. So the first thing that comes to mind is how important patience is. Mm-hmm. I also think about all Scripture is full of warning of people seizing it. Like, in Jesus' day, right? People wanted to make him king by force. Yeah. I think that's an example of seizing, stealing the blessing, if you will, or going out and seizing it that way as opposed to waiting for it. Mm-hmm. And what happens when we do that is it would be an entirely different type of king than Jesus ever intended. Mm-hmm. And what a twist, basic perversion of what that king would look like, right? Because it's just not what it's intended to be. It's something so different from God's design, and that's often what happens. Mm-hmm. So I do think we've got a lot of warnings in Scripture about what that could look like as kind of red flags to watch for in our life, I guess. They kind of point to them.
That's helpful. I was just kind of tying into what but it just sparked as you said that we tried to tell Jesus how he should do things, right? Like that's a version of trying to take the blessing, like trying to make Jesus give us what we want, trying to manipulate him, tell him, if I do this, or if you do this, then I'll do this, like that kind of transaction or whatever is, I think, an example of trying to take the blessing, because he's offering himself, he's offering his forgiveness, he's offering all this stuff, and instead of receiving what he's giving, we're trying to take what we want, right? Or what we think we want. How about you?
Okay, so I do apologize if this is actually a little bit too on the nose, but when we talk through this, in that sense of like seizing, my mind goes back to March and April 2020, where we would have tried to grasp onto something that love, care, patience actually were going to be teaching us through going through parts of the pandemic, where we actually had to take some moments to actually say, no, even though we're not meeting, which kind of freaks us out, we're actually going to trust that God is still in control of his church. If we don't meet this coming Sunday, I don't mean this Sunday, but if we lost a Sunday, would Christ Church explode? Absolutely not, right? And that sense of patience was completely devoid, and if we were trying to grasp onto it so hard that it would have actually pulled us away from some of the lessons that we actually needed to learn through COVID. Patience for sure being one of them, but also trusting God that he has a plan for his church, for Lakeview Heights Baptist, for Chris and I, for finding a new pastor named Jeff Gates, right? If we would have gone a different direction and seized something that was not for us to push up against, I think what God would have, we would have been on a very different path. And I do feel like God really challenged and taught us a lot through that sense of patience. And Chris, I remember us going back to just that phrase of just, what does love require of me?
Yeah.
Right? It's so cheesy because we overuse it, but what would Jesus do in this moment? I don't know if he would have grabbed a pitchfork in that, and I think that's where it feels kind of a little bit too on the nose, because in kind of saying that, I also feel like we're kind of judging maybe those who maybe went a different direction than what we did as a church, and we kind of, it kind of feels like we're saying, well, what we did was the absolute greatest. But I do feel like what God had to teach us in that time was really important, and it's something that we shouldn't have seized. We actually had to trust his promise. So that's where my mind went.
Yeah. Well, and what's pretty amazing, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before, even as people reached out and seized, he still worked those things for good, and he is working those things for good, right? Yeah. That's leading up to what we're going to talk about here in a minute. And you'll hear that again on Sunday.
Oh, totally.
Working all things for good. But so that's just, I think we should wrestle with that. Like, what does it mean for us even now? Like, and I don't have all the, I don't know exactly everything it means for me, but another way that I'm noticing it in my life is when I'm worrying about something and trying to work circumstances out a certain way, I think I'm running into the taking rather than receiving, right?
Yeah.
Like trusting. He tells us don't worry, and worrying is when we're not trusting, right? And so, and that's not easy. Like if you have anxiety and that kind of stuff. We're not saying that, but in general. When we are trying to control circumstances that we can't, I think we're on the verge of grasping rather than trusting. So, yeah.
What's going through my head is actually a song that was being practiced all day today, all throughout this week, which is going through. The name of the song is "I Trust His Plan for Me."
Yeah.
Right, and that's a really hard one to get away from, and so that's I think It's going through my head. It's going through this conversation. It's going through what everybody's going to experience on Sunday as well too.
So speaking of Sunday,
Yeah.
Tell us about what's behind us, why we're here, what we're doing.
What's behind us is It is a feast for all of your senses.
Can you smell it? Salty.
You know what? We need to figure that one out. We need to figure out a way to pump some coastal air into here.
Yeah.
Well, I think we might not get some coastal air, but we're also in the 50s, which is kind of the diner era, and cars and A&W and those kinds of things.
We could pump
we might get a little
I was going to say we could pump some exhaust in, but that's a bad idea.
But we'll get a bit of the diner feel.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah.
So what is behind us?
So what is behind us is just the step one. We have a few things going on. So it's Drama Camp week. That's hopefully not a surprise to you. And so if you've been with Lakeview in previous years, when Drama Camp it starts, you enter the door and you are in the play. And so we are like Kevin said, it's beach themed, but a diner set, and so we have our surf rental shop. And set up directly behind us is an opportunity for you to try and convince your friends you went surfing without ever getting wet. So we'll have a surfboard here you can ride. You can get a friend to take a picture. And we're actually so there's two performances if you know this. So Friday night is just for family. Sunday's the big public one that you all get to come to, and so we hope you do. We hope you pack out the sanctuary. And but we are gonna when family comes in on that Friday night performance. I think we even got like a little Polaroid camera. We're gonna like invite people to hop up on there. Right. Maybe Sunday too. I won't be in the foyer with the camera, but hey, get a friend with a phone to take a picture of you and just interact with it. It's just an opportunity to kind of interact, have some fun together. And as we get rolling on that. So. And
just to clarify, when you says family, we talk about LHBC family.
Families of the campers.
Yes. Yeah.
Is Friday night.
Right.
Everybody and anybody in the great big Lakeview family is Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So we do say that, but yeah.
You have anything more to add, Kevin?
Yeah,
you guys are in the thick of it. So.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying getting to know kids that we have not interacted with, kids from our community, and just seeing them like really get into the script and the songs and the choreography and all the stuff that's happening and building relationships with each other. And this is really what a lot of this is about, is giving these kids an experience and being able to teach them and draw them into just telling a really good story this week. And there's so much joy and energy and all kinds of stuff that's happening throughout this week that really I think will culminate in the whole weekend and the performance. And like it's just under 20 campers, but we have a whole bunch of youth and adult helpers and staff and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a really full group here all this week.
I hear there will be special cameos in the play. Like we don't want to give too much away, but look for celebrities. And it'll be really a great Sunday morning. So we do want to come early. Starts at 10, right?
Yep.
That time hasn't changed.
Right.
But if you're gonna come,
don't be late.
But also expect it's gonna be full. So like, come early, get a seat, and if we have to, we can you can watch it on the screen in the foyer from the scene if we're really that full. But come early. It will be, for those of you who only join us online, it will be online as well.
Yeah.
So you can go to the YouTube, you can watch it there, or if you're away on
Won't be as
Sunday,
good, but it'll be there.
Yeah, well, it's always better live. Of course. So that's what we're inviting all of you to. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Come on down and hang out and cheer on our kids and have just fun. What's the line from the script? It's I know I'm going to jumble it, but they talk about what, familiar old story with a modern twist.
With a modern twist, yeah.
Which is so funny because that modern twist is like 70 years old.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Modern twist. But anyways, it's
63. 63, that's all.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's not that.
Sure.
Well, we hope you're enjoying the summer still. Like Chris told like you started with your vacation time. We hope you're able to get out with family and that kind of thing and enjoy. But we are looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. So have a great and blessed week.